Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Sansing with DAV, and I'm here at Arlington National Cemetery at the Military Women's Memorial, where Phyllis Wilson, a DAV member and a 37-year Army veteran, gave us a clinic and a history lesson here about all the contribution, service, and really sacrifice of women veterans going back to the Civil War, before that, the Revolutionary War. Phyllis, what can you tell us about what's it like to visit the memorial?
Well, I tell you, I've worked here now for 3.5 years, and after, as you said, 37 years in the Army, which I absolutely loved, but I found out in my time here at the Military Women's Memorial, I didn't know a lot of our own history, not just women's history, but our military history from the Revolutionary War till today. So every time I get to walk towards this building and come inside, I realize that our job is to help tell the story of the 3 million women that have helped to defend this nation, as you said, from the Revolutionary War till today. And I will tell you that in the last 30 years, more women have served and defended this nation than all the women from that time 30 years ago all the way back to the Revolutionary combined.
Wow.
So it's a huge new number of American women in just the last 30 years.
Yeah, and I think, it's Women's History Month, and I think one thing here is people assume it's women's military history, but this is really military history. We're just shining a light on all the contributions of some people who maybe didn't get their due when they were serving in uniform, unfortunately. And I know you were a linguist, military intelligence, and retired as a CW5, Chief Warrant Officer 5. For non-Army veterans out there, that's a big deal. What really drew you to running this memorial?
Well, I had heard that they had a vacancy and they were doing a search, a national search for the next president of the Memorial and Foundation. And I heard about it, but I thought, I'm a soldier, not a woman soldier. For 37 years, I was hard proving I was a soldier. Jumped out of airplanes, did everything the Army would permit me to do. But I thought, I don't really get why you have to have a separate place. But as fate would have it, during that window of opportunity, while the application could still be submitted, I was thinking about it, but probably not. But as fate would have it, I parked in a veteran parking space at a grocery store. And I hop out, and the gentleman in the parking lot goes, "Excuse me, that is veteran parking."
Uh-oh.
And I said, "Yes, I know." And then the next one was, "Is your husband with you?" And we had a conversation. Turns out we both served at Fort Bragg at the same time. We both did many of the same kind of things. And I thanked him for his service. He did not reciprocate. And I thought, okay, but I went in to pick up my groceries. And as I was doing that, I wasn't really upset, but it caused me to think about it. I knew that 3 million of us have served. And I thought, when does it stop? What do we have to do to tell America what our contribution has been? And I knew that this was the only major national memorial in the entire country to tell that story. And I said, okay, I hear you. I felt like it was a God nudge. And so I put my resume and my application in and went through the vetting process. And be careful what you ask for, because now here it is 3.5 years later. But it's a job I absolutely love, and I love being able to help tell the stories. And even though the Army Museum is just down the road from us, it tells a story in a different way. And I think this is America's history. If you read it and it was being told about a guy, you wouldn't think, oh, it's interesting from a man's perspective, but when we tell it from a woman's perspective, somehow it has a unusual ring to it. But we're getting to the point where hopefully it will just be commonplace if we're telling it from a woman's standard.
Absolutely. The rest is history, women's history and military history. And again, this is the Hall of Honor. We have all the state flags here. Behind me, there are all of the military flags, even the Space Force is there. And this is a very special place here. You have the books of consisting women who were killed in the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Has all of them. The Iraq War one is a little longer, has more folks in there. And today is actually the 20th anniversary of the Iraq War. And Naomi, who's on our legislative staff in D.C., as well as I, as well as Phyllis, as well as Kevin, our cameraman here, are Iraq War veterans. Now, Naomi, you served there. You're quoted in the article in DAV Magazine. What do you think about today?
Well, I want to really make sure that it gets across to people that, check on your veteran friends. This is a very important week. You don't know if you're okay until you know you're not okay. And so if you're not a veteran and you have veteran friends, check on your veteran friends. If you are a veteran, check on your battle buddies. And also check on the ones that seem to be just so strong. And if you are a veteran and you are in crisis, I think that it's very important to also get across to please dial 988 and press 1. But you know, when we talk about, just as Phyllis just mentioned, when we talk about women's contribution and just in general, I am a veteran, period, dot, point blank. I did everything that the men were expected to do as well. And we were all in that fight together and continue to be down in the trenches together.
Absolutely. And again, you're on our legislative staff, so I want to take the opportunity to kind of ask you about some legislation that does specifically pertain to women veterans. I know last year we had the MAMO and the Service Acts become law. What will these laws do for the nation and for women veterans?
Well, one thing that it'll do is, or one of them will do, is expand the mammogram services for veterans that were exposed to toxic substances, and allow, it kind of takes away the age requirement for a mammogram. Also, it starts a pilot program for telehealth for mammograms, and that is really key when it comes to our rural veterans who really don't have access to the facilities, or the facilities are too far away. It will also expand mammograms, the mammogram facilities within the VA medical centers to include 3D imaging. And so that's very key. We also had other legislative victories such as peer support and, fixing the process of doing the military sexual trauma claims and so on. So we're very excited with everything that's passed.
And the reason these bills came law definitely had to do with engaged DAV members sending alerts to their elected representatives. They can do so at davcan.org. That stands for Commanders Action Network, where you can go and take action by 2 clicks. You can go ahead and have your voice heard to your elected official for veterans, yourselves, and your battle buddies. Thank you so much for tuning in today.